I think that sometimes we try to not to show the differences between us because it's unpleasant and then we don't have this feeling of unity. And through this film I wanted to portray or to find a different way. That's in a way also why I'm doing script writing in the movie, because I think that when you touch the uniqueness, that's the real way of how to communicate and to connect. And like in films, you could see a film about someone in China. You do not know his customs, but if it's authentic enough, it allows you to relate. And this is the message, I think, that we don't need to put away our differences. We need to emphasize them. We need to find uniqueness. We need to empower uniqueness. Just one more note, which was really interesting when I did in the beginning. We started screening it. The first screening was to Amichai. It's like an organization of
Holocaust survivors and children.
So we did like a test screening, and I brought my father there, which is a survivor. And after the film, he was asked to speak it in Wano. So I asked him the next day. I gave him a call and asked him. So he said, "Look, it's a really interesting film, and it's very real, and it's very Jewish. But I'm sad to say, who will want to watch it?" And I thought it's very Jewish in a way. It's very. So it was exactly my experience. And like 3 days later, we were accepted to Venice. So that was the answer. And since then, we've traveled around the world, and it's very interesting because it's in the stations, like in the places my father was throughout his own journey in life, which we were in Poland, where he came from. And then we went to South Korea, where he was working. And then we came to Stockholm, which is the first place where he was after the war. And then we were here in Palm Springs, and we're here now, where he lived after the war in America. So it's also moving for me. And look, I think this is my hope as a second generation, that we're able to communicate these things and to find the connection to the world and to ourselves through this story.
And so to go back to Halberstam, to Yoel, this tremendous change.
Yeah.
I know it's a question of identity, but do you want to expand on that? And then we have a question back there.
So what is exactly the question?
Well, my question would be, you talk now about identity, so clearly that's part, he takes off, he's the same person, he cuts off the peyot, he shaves the beard, but he's the same person, and yet everybody looks at him and he looks completely different to the non-Jews, to the Jews, to the person in the room with him, who works in the room with him. Yet you seem to be wanting to say something there about identity. Were you saying that the outer doesn't count? It's what's inside.
I think I want to provoke a question. I'm not so much giving the answer. I think to a Jewish audience, I would like to ask ourselves, how come, if we look at this character of the woman, she's really like Ruth, right? Mm-hmm. She says exactly the same. She takes her future and her destiny and says, I'm taking my destiny in my hands and I'm with the Jewish people.
Your God, your people are my people, your God is my people. Where you go, I will go.
And basically, I think we're losing something in the process now, which is how do we define our Judaism? And it's a really big question. And I feel as it's our generation's responsibility to pass on, to find what are our core values, because it's quite apparent that it wasn't, in most of our history, wasn't Taryag mitzvot, even though I come from an Orthodox background.
613, the commandments.
And therefore, I think for the next generations, we really need to decide or to understand what are our core values that distinguish us and to identify us as Jews. And this is extremely important. And you could see the absurd on this character, because as if he's not Jewish, but he's so extremely Jewish. So what's the story?
Okay, I'm getting the hook here, but let's get one last question over there. Yes.
It's so funny that you asked about Habersham's relationship with his mother. I was going to actually ask, what was the significance of not having the mother verbally accept or deny her involvement at all?
Why did the mother choose that path? Because I I must say, I've been asked when I wrote the script, and you hand it to funds and so on, so there's a lot of advisors that ask you questions, and they ask, why doesn't he confront her? Like, why doesn't she say anything? So I think this is my experience of people who aren't saying. And this is just, I can't even explain why. It's just a reality. I'll share one last thing. My father is now on his deathbed. It just happens to be that as my movie coming out, he's declining. And even today, even seeing the film, even he cannot speak about it. He cannot speak about certain things, and even if I ask him, he just finds a way out.